Hey guys, it's Kimmy Howard from Kimmy Howard Photography, and I'm going to be doing critiques in June, and I'm just going to give you guys a little sneak peek sample into my editing style and just how I'm going to be teaching and instructing. And I'm going to go ahead, and I am a Lightroom user. I love Lightroom. I say I edit 90% there and 20% or 10% in Photoshop. But since I think most people are Photoshop, I'm going to go ahead and do 3 photos here in Photoshop, and then I'm going to go ahead and do this image again in Lightroom and just show you guys some really cool features in Lightroom. So I will personally talk to my group of girls next month and figure out, what program you guys are using, and I'll go ahead and critique towards what you guys are specifically using. But for now, I picked 3 images. There were so many good images to choose from on the website, and I just enjoyed going through your websites and your blogs and stealing your images. I felt so bad, like, pulling these off of your websites. But yeah, there's just so much talent, and I'm really honored to be able to just help you guys a little bit. And I think that you guys are in the right place. You're here, you're seeking for just to get better and to grow, which is awesome. And so the images that I chose, they were all amazing to start with, but I'm just going to show you a couple things that might, help them out a little bit, and just bring out some colors and work on the brightness a little bit. And yeah, I hope it helps. It's just a little taste of what you'll see next month with me. So I'm going to go ahead. I don't remember whose image this is, but it's really cute. I really think you did a great job with, especially, the little girl looks amazing. Like, there's no, I don't know if you use some kind of filter or anything on the sun, but it looks great. There's no like spots of sun on her face. You can see there's a lot of bright sun in the background. So I'm going to work on that a little bit, but I think first of all, you did just a really great job. The composition is really pretty. I love just her serious face. Those are always my favorite shots of the session, just because you can see their eyes so big, and just so much more when they're smiling, it just squints and they get so small. So I love the serious pictures. I think this is perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. The first thing, I did a couple things just to speed it up a little bit, but the first thing that I wanted to change or bring out in the image was just a little bit more reds. I really, really like my skin tones to be like pinky, and I just feel like there's a little bit of green hue, and it's probably from all the green around her, but on her face, and I just really want to make her come to life a little bit more. So what I did is I went to right here, the color balance, and I brought up my reds. Let me just go ahead and click on that. Oops. So I brought them up about 15 towards the red side, and I think that just helps a little bit on, I'll take it off. There, it's off. And there it's on. It just gives her skin the pinky hue that I think you want to stay away from, like, getting too much into the green skin tone. Personally, that's just my opinion. But, so yeah, the next thing I thought we could do to her was just maybe make her pop out a little bit from the image. And the way I did that was I made a brightness layer. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, and then you can see over here I masked it off of the background, because this is was way blown up. So I just thought it'd be nice to bring her face up just a little bit, and I'm going to bring it down a little bit because she's getting a little bit white. Just to make her pop. Then I went ahead and I did a curves layer because I wanted to bring some of that, the richness and the mid-tones back. And I just turned it back on. You can see it did that on her face. She was looking a little, like, white. So I decided to do some curves. And then this was just my extra layer that I made. So right now, to me, that image is looking great. I wouldn't do any kind of skin softening or anything on this image. And this was stolen from her website, so this is not, I think it's a screenshot actually, and then I cropped it down. So this is the image she had was much better quality than this, but this is just a little taste. I'm going to go ahead and merge And then the last thing I'm going to do is just burn the edges, just a touch, just to kind of let her pop out a little bit. I like to do that, I don't know, just to give a little, I'm not going to burn her skin, but I might do a little bit on this. So there we go. I think this image looks awesome. I'm going to just run. I have like a totally rad sharpening action. Oops, and that's a lot more than I like. So let's see. It was just a freebie they had on their Facebook page, and I just really like it. Sometimes I feel like, and this image may be, like I said, this is just a screenshot, so it might not need it, but yeah, I really like that. I'm going to go ahead and show you the before. I guess this is the actual screenshot. So that's what we had before. And then there's my after. Okay, I'm going to take that sharpness down a little bit because it does look a little sharp. But you can see she just kind of pops out a little bit more, and the skin, I think, was the main thing for me. I'm going to show this image again in Lightroom, just with a little different twist to it. So good job on that one. I think this says Kristen. I love this picture. I think you did a really good job. Just, you know, it's just a organic shot. It's not forced, and the little girl's having fun, and I love that she's in the flowers. I think you did a really nice job with that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I did a few things, and then I'm going to do a few things by hand as well. Again, I'm going to bring up, I think at this one it looks like I brought up the reds and the greens, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that layer on. And the reason I did that was I felt like this image was just a little bit cool for, you know, the day. It looks like it's, I don't know, maybe later in the afternoon, and I just wanted to enrich some of the colors and also bring out some of that green. So I went ahead and did that. I also added some brightness. That's a little bit more than I think I want now. And then same thing with the curves. That's just going to bring it down a little bit. And let's do it even some more. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, now the next thing that I'm going to do with this image, I'm going to go ahead and flatten it, is I think that this fence here in the background is just a little distracting to me. I think that it kind of looks like she's out in this field, but then you're like, oh no, wait, she's like in a parking lot, or I'm not sure. So I'm going to crop the image a little bit. I think that we have room to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and I just crop to the original ratio, if I crop it all. I think that, well, let's go ahead and take that upper. Okay. There, you can see there's a little bit of fence up there. I would just, okay, I'm going to, Command J is duplicating my layer that I already have, and that's going to just, you know, give me some forgiveness if I need to erase something, and, whoops, that looks a little bit, let's see, that looks a little bit better. So, say I, you know, did some cleaning, and then I'm like, oh, I really don't like that, I can take my eraser and bring it back where it was. So that's why I always make another layer when I'm cloning, just because I don't want to start over. Okay, I'm not going to do this super carefully, but I just want to show you. Hold on. Sorry about my dog. I'm just going to show you what I would do. Whoops. To just clone this out. And again, I'm not going to do my best right now because I'm just showing as an example, but if this was my, you know, an image for my client, I would really make sure that I would do it the right way. But I think just getting some of that, I mean, that's the only part you can really see it. So yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, and I think that, like, you can't tell there that there's like a fence anymore. Again, I would perfect that, but I think it looks good. Yeah, I think that this image already started very nice, so I think those things just kind of helped bring it out a little bit. Let me go ahead and show you the original. There we go. And then this was the final. So again, you started off great. It was a beautiful image. I just brought out some of the colors and some of the brightness, and then cropped it down a little bit, so we got rid of that fence. So good job on that one. The next one that I'm going to show is the newborn, and I'm going to just start from scratch on this one. I think if you guys follow my work, you know that I do specialize in newborn photography. So I think a lot of, the girls that are going to be coming to learn next month might be newborn photographers. You might not, which is fine. But I wanted to show like what I would critique for, or how I would critique a newborn photo. And I thought this one was really sweet. I think that the parents obviously are gonna love this. The baby looks safe and it's sound asleep. The one thing that I would change in the way that this photo was shot is I always like to shoot down the face instead of up the face. I just think that it looks a little bit sweeter and just more flattering. So next time I would shoot, just 2 or 3 steps over more to the right and then just up a little bit more, so you're angling just down the face. And I think that's just a general rule that I like to follow with anybody that I'm photographing, just trying to get down the face just because it's a better angle. So I think overall this is a great shot. Let's see, the first thing I'm going to do is brighten it up. I think it's a little bit on the dark side. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit, and again, we'll kind of bring it down a little bit too as we do some other adjustments. I'm going to bring the color balance up. I think that the baby's a little bit on the green side, and I think I said before, I just like my skin to be nice and pink and lively looking, so I'm going to bring the skin tones up just so you can show that, add a little bit of life to this baby. I think your blues look great. It's a really pretty blanket. You will notice when you're working with newborns that whatever color is around is going to be reflected on their face. So that might be why there's just that little bit of cool hue going on in the face that I'm trying to correct with this red, layer. So I think that looks a little better. And then I'm going to go ahead, let's work with our curves a little bit and try to get some of these mid-tones up just a little bit. Okay, let me see what that did here. Cool. Alright, I think that looks great. I'm going to just show you where we started and then where we're at now. The one thing that I do, sometimes I use portraiture for skin, sometimes I don't. Most of the time I like to just keep it organic and natural, but sometimes when you're looking, real close at a baby's head, it is, right up close up of their face, you can see a lot of imperfections, and sometimes it's nice just to smooth it out a little bit. So I'm going to show you how I would do that. I'm going to Command J again, so I'm working with a layer. I'm going to go to portraiture and hit OK. And what it does is it does the entire image. So that's why I made a duplicate, so I could take it off of the parts where I do not want it in. So I'm going to start just with the general stuff that I know I don't want it on the blanket or the hat or the background. And I always turn off my background layer so I can see where exactly I'm working. I want to take it off any features because I don't want to lose that detail, especially you can see in the lips. Again, this was a screenshot from the website, so this is not a good quality picture that I'm working with just because I stole it. So I'm going to take down the opacity of the skin layer just a little bit because it just looks kind of plasticky if you leave it at 100%. Some people do. It's just a personal preference. I think just with the noise and stuff that's in this picture, I would keep it right there. I think that looks great. Okay, I'm going to merge it, and then I'm just going to do my totally rad sharpening action. Again, I don't ever really use actions. I use Lightroom, and I will use a sharpening action, but that's pretty much all I use, besides like stuff that I've created for myself. I think that looks good. So here, let's go ahead and let me show you. Oops, there's the screenshot. that's the original photo. And then here is the final edit. I think it just kind of smooths it together, brings some pink back into the baby and brightens it up a little bit. So overall though, great job on that. And yeah. Okay, I'm going to just show you guys a couple more things over in Lightroom because it's my favorite. Alright, here's this sweet little girl over here in Lightroom. And I love Lightroom. These are just a general rundown real fast. You have a library where you can store all your pictures by year, which is great for just, you know, your own personal, like, keeping track of your stuff. And then here I'm in the develop section. So right here, these are all the presets I've created just to speed up my workflow. And then over here's the history. And I did this image earlier, but I'm going to have to redo it because my recording didn't work. So here we go again. Normally my history would just be, you know, right over here at import when I bring it in, but I did crop it down because it was, this one again is a screenshot. And when I use Lightroom, I do shoot in RAW. So normally I would have all my camera settings right up here, and I would have the Kelvin number that my white balance was at when I shot. So it's a little bit easier when you shoot in RAW because you get to see the exact numbers that you're working with. I think sometimes that's important just to learn numbers. And I'm sorry I imported everything that was on my desktop by mistake instead of just the screenshot, so that's why there's like cartoons down at the bottom. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead. I always start with the temperature, and I think again I'm going to do something similar like I did in this image in Photoshop, but you're going to see it looks just a little bit different at the end. I'm going to bring up the white balance because I think it is on the cool side right now, so let's go ahead and do that. And I might bring it back down at the end, but I'm not sure. I'll see how things go. I find that, you know, sometimes I might start something, you know, one way, and then at the end, after I do a few things, I might need to adjust it again, but we'll just see how it goes. I'm going to bring the tint up to give her that pinky hue. I think the exposure looks great. I do want to make her pop out just a little bit more, and I think the way I need to do that in this image is using my brush, because you'll see, if I bring my exposure up, it's just that we're going to lose everything in that background. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to bring the exposure down just a touch, and then I'm going to use the brush to bring it back on her face. And right now it's bringing it down, but you'll see in a second how I do that. So there's my brush, and I love this about Lightroom. It's similar to using layer masks, but it's just so much easier in my opinion, because I could put, you know, 10 different brush points on this image and work with the temperature for that exact brush, so a brush wherever I brushed. So that's just a really cool feature in Lightroom, and then I'm going to hit done. I think that looks really great, and I'll show you. Let's see. Here's well, let's start from here. So that's when I brought up the tint. I'm over in my history section, and then here's where I brought the exposure down and then put that brush over her face. Alright, let's go ahead and work with some of the highlights and the shadows, blacks and whites. I'm going to try to bring the whites down because I might be able to get rid of some of the blown out areas in the back. And let's bring the shadows up. Alright, I think that looks awesome. And when I play with the blacks, like, let me bring them all the way up. I do like, you know, the like nice soft look, but I do like the contrast. So I'm going to bring my blacks up, but then I'm going to go back to my contrast up here and bring it back, so that I think that looks awesome. I'm going to bring the clarity down just to smooth, make my image it's just a touch. It's not going to like make your picture you know, blurry or anything, but it's just going to smooth it out. Let me go back in my history and show you. There's the before and the after. It's just a subtle change, but I like doing that over skin softening because I think it's just more organic. I'm going to just bring some of these the saturation up, like 1 or let's see, 2 looks good. Alright, I'm going to skip most of these now. I'm going to just do, I like to do a little bit in split toning, and what split toning does here, if you're working with the highlights, is it basically puts a hue, like this is my color line, and this is the saturation, so I'm going to pick like a number of color. I know, based on what I like, that around 270, 280 is going to give me a more of a, like a pinky hue to my picture, and I'm just going to bring the saturation up just a touch. So it's going to, let me go back at my history and show you what that did. It just gave that a tiny little pink hue to it, and I like that. And last thing under effects, you can use a vignette, and the cool thing is you can just make it however dark, or if you have like a studio, like just a soft studio shot, you can bring it to the white side, which I do sometimes with my newborns. So I'm going to bring this down just a touch, just to create that, just a natural vignette. And there we go. I think that looks great. Let me show you the before and the after. I'm going to go back just before I cropped. So that's how I imported it, and then that's the final product. So I think, we just brought her out a little bit more than the beginning, or than the image started. So there it is. And then there we go. And I really like that. Let me compare it to my Photoshop version. They're probably going to be pretty similar just based on my style, but I don't know. I'm just so comfortable in Lightroom. Let's see. I'm going to back her up a little bit in Photoshop here. So I did warm it. It does look totally different, actually. But I think just because I'm used to Lightroom, I have a better understanding of what I do over there. But yeah, I like them both. So anyway, I think Lightroom, I have just a little bit more control over my images. So yeah, I would love to help you guys just fine-tune your editing, and if you're a Lightroom user, I can show you guys a lot of cool tips and tricks in here, because we just touched on like the basics with this image. And then if you're a Photoshop user, I'll help you become familiar with layering and some cool features in Photoshop that I use as well. So I hope this helps, and I look forward to working with some of you guys in a month or so. Thanks again.